Hi everyone, it's A Tides Changing here, and welcome to the first video in a new building series that I'm starting. So in this series, I will be renovating as many homes in Sunset Valley as I can, and I am starting it off by renovating the Monotone, which is, I guess, a common starter home to use, and I'm just going through it right now, so you can see how it looks originally, and it's definitely very just bleak and dreary inside, not very colorful at all, hence the name Monotone, I guess. I decided to do this series because all of the homes in Sunset Valley are, of course, furnished only with base game items, because, it's a base game world, and they aren't very detailed as far as the furnishing goes. They're furnished very sparsely, so I thought it'd be really fun and challenging to, like I said, go through and renovate as many homes as I can so I can decorate them my way and just make them look a lot more detailed. And I'm probably going to start off with just starter homes like this at first, just to see how I like the series and how you all like it. And I hope you all like it, because I did have a lot of fun renovating this house, but I'm not sure how it's going to go if I try to renovate larger homes, because that's going to take me a while, because despite this being a starter home, it actually took me about 3 hours to renovate, which is a lot longer than I thought it would be. I sat down, I was like, oh, this is going to take me like an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours tops, but no, it took me about 3 hours, I guess, just because of how detail-oriented I am. Like, I just have to get everything perfect, so just this little house took me that long. As far as this renovation itself goes, I wasn't really trying to keep it a starter home because I find it kind of boring when I try to limit myself, just to under a certain amount of money. I mean, I didn't use the most expensive items, because I didn't want it to be too expensive, but I also didn't really use the cheapest either. I just kind of used, the middle range items. And as far as, a theme for this renovation, kind of what I had in mind was that this was a home of, a newly married couple just starting out or something like that who just wanted to rent a cheap house, and they don't have the nicest furniture, some of it's kind of mismatched, hence, you have this green futon and a beige corduroy pattern, armchair, and my thoughts were, you can get futons really cheap, or maybe someone had a futon that they gave to them. I mean, you can go to Walmart and get a futon for, $99, and then, maybe the armchair was one that someone used to have that they replaced or something like that, because the corduroy fabric is a little dated, I guess. I don't know, I guess corduroy isn't really used on furniture that much anymore. But here I'm just putting in a nice little rug underneath there, and I kept it with kind of the green theme, but like I said, I was trying to mismatch things a little more than I usually do, because normally I just use kind of the same colors on a whole bunch of different objects, but when I was doing this, I was really trying to just use different kinds of woods in the same room and be a little more realistic with it, especially since, like I said, there are a couple just starting out. You're not going to have perfectly matching furniture. So, you have white shelves there, and then on the coffee table, you have just this kind of black wood pattern that makes me think of IKEA furniture, because, I guess a lot of IKEA furniture is just, white or black. With the other renovations in this series, I want to have different kinds of themes as well, like maybe a bachelorette pad, or a bachelor pad, or a house for an artsy sim, or a jock sim, or a science nerd sim. And you guys can feel free to let me know in the comments, which kinds of renovations you want to see, or if you have any other types of themes that I didn't really say. And I was also thinking maybe it would be fun to make clients as well, because here I'm talking about that this is for, a young couple, but then, I didn't really make a couple. So let me know if that's also something else that you would like to see with this series. And this series is probably going to be something that I don't really do very often, just because it takes a little bit longer than a Let's Play and a Let's Build, because it's doing a whole renovation. It's a video of a whole renovation sped up 8 times, so a lot more building goes into one video in this series. So this is probably going to be something that I do every 2 to 3 weeks, It's kind of hard to do this once a week, with other videos I have going on. Now I'm just going to focus on the actual renovation, though. And the living room area is pretty much done, and right now I'm just putting in a dining room table. There wasn't really enough space for a full dining room, so I just kind of stuck, a table and chairs over in that corner there, so it's not really the nicest eating spot, but this is a pretty small house, so, I had to make do with the space that there was. I originally had this really modern-looking table and chair set, but then I changed it to give it kind of an older look, because I figured maybe it'd be more realistic to have it, look like it was a set of table and chairs that got handed down to them, or they got from somewhere for really cheap, so that's why I went with that instead. and him just sticking a quick rug under it because I felt like it would be a little bit too bare to just have wood floor under it. And now I'm just playing around with, putting some things on the wall because I have all the furniture on the ground, so usually I just stick everything on the ground first, and then I go around and do all the wall decorations once everything's in place. So here I'm just going and picking the colors and trying to make things a little different, like I said, to make it look like things don't perfectly match, like I have a tendency to do, and now I'm just playing around with putting a light in that corner since it's a little too dark for my taste, even with that table light. And I was tempting to see if maybe sticking a plant on the table would be good, but it didn't really look quite right. And now that the living room area is done, I'm going on to the kitchen. And what I typically do is I put all the furniture down in a room first, and then I go through and do the wall and floors. Usually I do kind of do the floor first like I did here, but the walls I always do after I have all the furniture down. So I'm just using these really cheap countertops here, and I'm going with a lime green tile on the top of it, which is something a little different than what I usually do. So I was trying to do something a little funky and different, add a little color to the house. And I, of course, just put down some white linoleum tiles down on the floor, and now I'm doing the overhead cabinets. And I actually like how that looks. It's definitely different than what I usually do, because usually I kind of do like white cabinets with a wood countertop or a granite countertop or something like that, or wood cabinets with granite. I usually don't do funky colors. I did do that with the 50s theme house. I did the mint chocolate chip one, but that's because that was something that was kind of common back then. But that was really fun to do, and I like how that looks. So I guess I kind of been playing with colors on counters a little more since making that house. And here I'm just putting in some curtains right there. I definitely like the living room more than the kitchen, though. I feel like kitchens and bathrooms kind of tend to be my weak spot as far as decorating goes, especially kitchens. I'm never as happy with my kitchens as I am with other parts of the house, so it's definitely a room that I'm trying to work on. And here I'm just putting in kind of a funky rug, once again playing with colors and making it blue instead of green like the countertops. And over in this corner here, I'm just putting in a trash can. And I played around with putting some plants in, but I felt like it was kind of weird to have a plant right next to the trash can, so I just put a recycling bin in instead, which is a little more realistic. And now I'm just replacing the front door because I didn't really like that green door, and it's, the same kind of door that was on the inside of the house, so I wanted to put an actual outside door in. I replaced the box shape light that was over the table because I wasn't really a huge fan of it. And now I'm replacing the front door because I don't really like how the stained glass looks, so I'm just changing it to this door that actually has windows that you can look through, which is kind of what I wanted to go for. And now that all of the furnishing is done, I'm actually going to go and do the wallpaper. So for now, there's just kind of this gray wall, and I wanted the wall with the TV on it to be a brick accent wall, so I'm taking care of that now. And I experimented with putting some columns in on the edges of it just to distinguish it from the regular colored walls a little more. And I just kind of made those white, I guess, so now they're wood, but in a little bit I changed them to white here. So they kind of match the coloring of the molding, molding, crown, I guess that's what it is. And here I'm changing the rest of the walls, so I had a lot of trouble figuring out what to do, and I ended up going with this blue color here. I was trying to avoid going with blue because I feel like I always go for blue, but I guess I just like blue, so of course I end up in the end going for it, and I made it kind of this subtle dotted pattern, and now I'm just putting in a little book next to the desk, to make it look like there's just this pile of books next to there that, maybe someone would want to look at while sitting at the desk or something like that. Just one of those little details that make the house look a little more lived in. And now I am putting the wallpaper up in the kitchen, and I went with a wall that is tile on the bottom and wallpaper at the top, and I made it a green color that matches the countertop. And here I was going through and changing the wallpaper because, like I said, I was trying to avoid going with blue, so I was experimenting with other colors to see if it would look as good. But in the end, I ended up going back with blue because, of course, that's just what I always go for. So I made it a little bit lighter, and the wall in the back is a darker accent wall. The walls in the living room still looked a little bit bare though, so I just went in and added some more wall paintings in there. So here I'm just putting in the smaller paintings here, and I'm just kind of making them so they kind of go up in a diagonal. I don't know, I just thought they looked kind of neat. Each of them have different colored frames. And now I'm just sticking one painting in over on the other wall and giving that a white frame as well. So, and I also took out the columns because I just didn't really like how they looked. I feel like they look kind of weird, especially since one was just sticking out. I feel like it kind of closed in the space a little bit more since, it took up some of that opening between the living room and the kitchen area. And the last thing that I did was that I changed the tile in the kitchen from, the tile on the wall from green to white because I felt like it was a little bit too loud, I guess, to have the lime green on the walls. So, I just made them white so they're just a little more subtle. And now the living room and kitchen area is done, so I'm moving on to the bathroom. I was originally going for a red theme in the bathroom, I guess to give it a more romantic look, but I took out the red shower because it looked a little bit odd and replaced it with that nicer, more expensive one. And now I'm just putting in a painting up there to take up some space on that wall and playing around with changing the pattern of the hammock because I have not hammock, I mean hamper. So they sound kind of similar, but I have a tendency to leave the hampers just their plain colors, so I just want to change that to something a little different. And I put a wall in there to make it look like the shower just kind of stuck in the wall, and I also put back in the cheaper shower because I didn't want this house to end up too expensive. I didn't want to have, a small 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom house cost like $100,000 because I could probably make that happen, if I really just went wild with it. I could end up having a house this size be worth 100,000 simoleons. And now I'm just putting in a curtain on the window, and I decided to go with a nice big drape curtain just because I wanted this bathroom to have kind of more of a just older look to it. I didn't want it to have a new modern look. And here I'm just putting in a washer and dryer, and I took out the dryer and just left the washer. I did mean to put in a drying line outside, but I kind of forgot to do that, so, that's something you can do if you download this house. And here I'm just putting in the sink, and I originally experimented with having that bowl sitting on a table, but that was too modern for this bathroom, I felt. So I just went with this more old-fashioned sink, and just changing the curtains under it to be blue, so it's something a little bit different than the yellow that was in the rest of the bathroom, because the lining on the hamper was also yellow in addition to the curtains. And I just put in a wood mirror above that and some little knickknacks. Now I'm just going to add some final decoration, so you got a plant there in that corner, and I put in kind of a similar tile to what was in the kitchen, except that I made it blue. And I also used that wall that was part tile, part wallpaper, and made it the same kind of blue tile as what was on the floor, just so they match perfectly. And here I'm putting in a nice orange rug on the floor. And I tried putting one from the shower, but I didn't really like how that looked. And now I'm just putting in a shelf with some laundry stuff because I feel like, if there's a washer in there, then there should be some, laundry detergent and, dryer sheets and stuff like that. And now the bathroom is done, so I'm moving on to the bedroom, which is the last room in this house, of course. The first thing that I did in the bedroom was put in a nice little closet, since that's just a nice realistic touch, and it pretty much just consists of a clothing rack and some mirrors. Now that that's done, I'm putting in the bed, and I went with this bed that's a lot cheaper than it actually looks like it is. Like, it's one of the cheapest beds, but you would think it would be worth a couple thousand simoleons. And I went with the red color because I wanted the bedroom to, not really be feminine or masculine, so it's just kind of this reddish mauve color, and then, I put in some mismatching lanterns, maybe they got the lanterns at different points, or one came from a yard sale, they just came from different places, so I thought that was kind of a neat touch. And now I'm just putting in the same curtains that were in the living room because I really like how those curtains sit over those windows. And for this rug here, I kind of went with this odd, swirly, kind of funky swirly pattern, and now I'm just making it match the color of the bed. And I made the bed a little bit more red because I felt like that maroonish mauve, I guess it's like maroon or mauve, I felt like it was a little bit too pinkish, a little bit too feminine, I didn't really want this bedroom to look, like I said, I didn't want it to look girly, but I didn't want it to look like a guy's room either, since, this is for a couple. And I originally put in this girly mirror, but I felt like it was a little bit too girly, so I just went with this nice standing mirror. And now I'm just changing the color of the curtains to be kind of this, I guess it's just kind of a red pattern. I'm not really sure whether to call it lacy kind of pattern. And I put in a wardrobe over in the corner there. I didn't want to use one that was too old like the one I originally had, so I just went with this, I guess, newer looking black one, and it kind of matches the same wood that's on the bed and the end tables. And now I'm just putting in a coffee table at the end of the bed so I could put some nice knickknacks in. So I just put some stuff in from the Master Suite set, since I felt like it really fit in there. And I wanted to put a chair in front of the window, so I ended up using these cushions that came with the Bohemian Garden set. And I made one of them more of a pink and red color, and the other one is green, so it's kind of, like his and hers pillows, one's a more feminine color and the other one's a more masculine color, and I think that looks nice. And I made the carpet a darker gray color because I didn't really like that beige carpet that I had in there. And now I'm moving on to doing the wallpaper in here, and originally I had a green like the rug because, green and red are complementing colors, and I tried to do that same diagonal thing with these 3 paintings, but they didn't look quite right because they're so big, so I just stacked them. And against this wall I put in the string lights from the Bohemian Garden set because I thought that was just a fun little touch, and it looks really nice in there, I think. I didn't like the green wall though, so I decided to make the wall behind the bed a dark red accent wall. And I changed the walls on the rest of the room to kind of a beigeish color, so it was just kind of neutral. And I changed the rug as well because I didn't really like how the green looked on that either. So I played around changing it to different pinks and beigeish colors, and I ended up going with that beigeish, pinkish color. I'm not sure which it is more of. And now I'm just going through and putting some more wall decorations on, so I just put that painting there, and I ended up making the wall a little more mauvish, so maybe the room's a little more feminine, but at least it's not, bright pink. And now the inside is completely done, so I'm moving on to the outside. And I actually had a lot of trouble trying to figure out what to do with the wallpaper. I did change the roof to be kind of asymmetrical because I felt like it was just a little bit boring having it how it was originally, like just one roof. So I think this looks a lot nicer. And I put the column one back because the asymmetric roof didn't really look right when, they came to the same point in the front, if that makes, if what I'm saying makes any sense. And now moving on to doing the actual wallpaper. And I originally made it kind of a lime green color on the outside because I was once again trying to avoid blue because I always make my houses blue. Well, not always, but, the last couple houses I've done have been blue. And I also tried changing the windows on the outside to be green, because I always have the windows white, so, I was trying to do something a little bit different. I was also playing around with making the front brick because I didn't quite like how that lime green wood looked, I just felt like it was a little bit odd. I also tried making it just plain wood. I didn't like that either. I felt like that was a little bit too boring. And I ended up deciding to make this part of the house here under, I guess, the lower asymmetric roof brick, because I wanted to have multiple kinds of wallpapers on this house. So that how the half of the house is brick, and then I ended up making this house blue, which I did not want to do. I feel like blue is just the most common color that I make my houses. Blue steel was blue. The farmhouse that I just made was blue. I made other blue houses, I can't recall them, but blue is just kind of a common color that I do. Either that or green. I occasionally do other colors, but those are just the 2 go-to colors, I guess, because I just kind of like earth colors the most. Next, I added in some plants. Something I've been doing with gardens lately is having a couple different plants and spacing them out a little bit more, and then putting in just mulch underneath them, rather than having rocks bordering it or anything like that. And I guess that's just because I've been noticing where you'll have like dark mulch and then just plants kind of scattered on it, and I like how that looks. I do kind of wish the mulch in the game was a little bit darker, but unfortunately all there is light mulch. I guess I could kind of play around with the dark dirt and mix them together to get a dark mulch look, but I haven't tried that. Maybe I will try that though. And now I'm just putting some other plants on the other side of the path as well and changing up the path going in the door because I didn't really like how it looked. And I put in a small tree in the front of the house just because I felt like there needed to be something in there. I kept the landscaping pretty simple though because, I didn't want this house to be too expensive, and plus, I don't know, I just felt like this house didn't really need a ton of landscaping, it looked better just simple. Now I'm making some adjustments to the wallpaper. I'm just putting some different kind of wallpaper on the windows just to give it a little bit more of an accent, make it look a little bit different. And now I'm lightening it up though because I felt like that wallpaper just wasn't very bright. I wanted to give the house a nice brighter look to it. So I think that looks a lot nicer, and that's all for the renovation. Next there will be some screenshots to show what has been done as renovation. There are just a couple shots of the exterior since there isn't really a whole lot to show. Here is the living room, and this is probably my favorite room of, this renovated house. I just love how it turned out. It has this cluttered look, but it still looks pretty nice. And here you can see a view of the desk and the dining area. I really like how this mismatched sofa and chair looks together. I also really like the wall with the TV and how it's kind of cluttered. Here's a view going into the kitchen, and here's the kitchen itself. The next picture is of the sink and laundry area of the bathroom, and here's where the toilet and the shower is. Lastly is the bedroom, and I really love how this wall here looks with the mirrors and the bohemian string lights. And here is the other view of the bedroom. Well, that will be the end of this video. I hope you will enjoy this. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching, and bye!